Everybody's here. Michelle's back. Want to call this December meeting of the Tennessee Real Estate Commission back into session. First thing on our agenda this morning, we have our Executive Director's report.
We got to finish the education.
Oh, excuse me. Yeah. Steve.
Lucky me.
Like you.
No, you're doing fine.
That's right. Get it on over.
Dan and I'd rather have a man between us would be correct.
Okay, Mr. Chairman, where we left off yesterday, we're moving on to item D47 from the education report.
Do we have any idea where that is on our iPads, or is it on here?
It's on the last thing on the education report. The very last thing on the education report that we were looking at yesterday.
Oh, okay.
I make a motion we approve.
It's this.
Get Wendell.
Second. Of course, approval.
It's of course.
Okay, so I have a Collins for the motion and Alexander for the second.
I have a couple questions, Mr. Chairman.
Now, discussion. I'm not paying any attention. Yeah, see if you can find it.
I'll find it for you.
Commissioner Reese.
Okay, Steve, so the reason we have this course is because we're requiring people who teach core classes to take an instructor training
There it is.
core class.
Yes, sir. In June of 2010, the new rules and laws that came down, anyone teaching the law of agency and anyone teaching the core course had to take an instructor-approved course in those two before they could teach for the Real Estate Commission.
Okay, so here's my question. So we've got a residential core class, we've got a commercial core class. What I saw in this exhibit doesn't speak to commercial at all other than property management.
Correct. The commercial is set up as a different course, so for
Correct.
a different course number.
So does if somebody wants to be an instructor and teach the commercial core class,
They would need to go to TAR for that, because that's the only provider that is established that course.
okay, so this is only for residential.
That provider, business-wise, set it up to just teach or to appeal to residential core providers.
Now, with that said, everything in here is taught in the commercial core class too. There's just more in the commercial core.
The commercial core is completely different than the residential. The commercial core brings up triple net leases.
Right. There's additional, but agency law, those kind of issues are all common
Correct.
to both courses. But I just want to make sure that in case, for the record, this doesn't satisfy somebody who wants to teach the commercial core.
That is correct.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
Steve, have you talked with Jim enough to know if he has any desire to modify that to where it would work for the commercial?
I have not had that discussion with him, but I'd be more than happy to.
Is this an online course or is this?
It's paper pencil.
It is?
Yeah, it's paper pencil. This instructor live here, or is this an out-of-state instructor?
Jim lives in Woodbury, which is outside Shelbyville.
I thought,
Well, through conversations, he said he was planning on moving to California with his wife, but at this time, his residence is still here in the state of Tennessee. So that's just he and I speaking. I don't know when that's going to come to fruition.
So,
But that really shouldn't matter for us.
No.
Right.
If it's paper pencil, we have providers that...
the reason I'm surprised by that, there's the 10 rules of distant learning, second page in.
Mm-hmm.
You can achieve success with your home office study course.
I think you did.
Does that apply to this course in?
It does. He's just stating that if you are going to take the course sitting at home sitting in your office. I think he's just making the point that no matter where you are, this course appeals to you because you can take it with you. It's the transportation of the course wherever you decide to sit and study.
Okay.
Call for the question.
Question's been called for on the motion. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Motion carries unanimously.
Okay, Mr. Chairman.
Is that it?
I think we're ready for the instructor approvals.
Okay.
We have two providers before you. The first one is Susan Barnett. She's a approved provider 1397. She requests the approval of Janet DeChara as an instructor for the following courses: 6687 Agency in Tennessee, 6688 TAR Purchase and Sell Agreement, 6689 TAR Forms 101, 6690 TAR Forms 102, 6691 Quadrennial Ethics, 6692 Advertising in Tennessee, 6693 Transaction Desk The Basic, 6695 The Trek Manual 101, 6696 21 Ways to Lose a License, 6806 RESPA, 6910 Fair Housing, 6911 Written Goals, 6927 Meth Contaminated Homes, and lastly 7009 Listing Property. Ms. DeChara holds broker license 266521 and is the principal broker of Exit Select in Jackson. She is also a Tennessee Real Estate Commissioner, and she's present here today. The second is Christopher Cantrell, provider number 1560, requests the approval of Charlie Wynn as an instructor for the course number 7019, 1031 Tax Exchanges. Mr. Wynn has been in the finance industry since 1992 and the mortgage industry since 1999. He currently is the state president of Nations Title, which is also doing business as First United Title and Escrow, and has held this position since 2008. He earned his BS in economics and is a 2013 MBA candidate.
I think probably Commissioner DeChara, you probably ought to recuse from voting on yourself.
I think I will.
Okay.
Well, that's cool.
Yeah, I was going to do that. I recuse myself from voting.
Thank you. I think I should pass because I know you.
What's your pleasure?
Motion to approve.
Second.
Motion by Commissioner Collins and seconded by Commissioner, is it Grease or Alexander? You say Grease. Commissioner Grease. Any discussion on the motion?
Yeah, quick question. The quadrennial ethics, that's an NAR course that Trek is saying you can teach to get credit.
Correct.
It's continuing education credit, but only if taught at this point by Susan or Janet, or I guess they're the only two instructors that have been approved for that course.
Oh, there's a ton.
No, there are several.
Some associations have instructors as well.
Has the online NAR's online course been approved?
No. NAR has not approached the Real Estate Commission. That is a question that comes to us a lot from Realtor University. The process for that is licensees will go through TAR to pay an additional fee. I think it's $25. TAR will certify that, and then it comes into the commission through TAR.
I'll ask more later.
The NAR course just satisfies their requirement. You just don't get any continuing education for it.
Right. Although it sounds like I could if under the right set of circumstances.
Correct. And Betsy Bowman and I, we tell folks when they take the Realtor University, that is the process. They needed to contact Tennessee Association of Realtors to ensure that their credit is properly uploaded to the commission.
Thank you.
Any other comments or questions on the motion to approve? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. And let the record show that Commissioner DeChara abstained from the vote. Is that everything you've got, Mr. Education Director?
Chairman, I had developed an instructor manual draft that I'd left with some of the commissioners to take and review. This is to facilitate compliance with our request that instructors complete an instructor training course. There was some discussion about this through several commission meetings, and if any of the commissioners would like to discuss the manual that they were given, or if you would like to assign a education subcommittee to review and then to come back in January to discuss, I'd be happy to work with you in any way. At this time, the Real Estate Commission does not have an actual Real Estate Commission approved course. Folks have been using the TAR 16-hour course that's in instructor training. This course, the manual that you have in front of you, or some of the commissioners have, is something that I developed that would facilitate compliance for our instructors, as some are nationwide instructors.
Would this be taught by you, Steve, or who would this one be taught by?
It would be self-directed by the instructor. This time, the administration, we'd have to request the funds, we'd have to set up a school. This is something Director Maxwell and I have discussed, and I'd be happy to answer those questions, or if Director Maxwell would like to address some of those concerns about the school, we can entertain them.
I'd like to make a motion that we approve the outline as you've developed it.
Okay.
And that's the only thing I want to make a motion on at this point.
We have a motion on the floor by Commissioner Collins to approve the draft that,
Not just the outline of the draft.
the outline of the draft. Okay, the outline of the draft. Do I hear a second?
I'll second that.
A second by Commissioner DeShaw. Discussion on the motion. Hearing none, all in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, no. Motion carries. The outline of the draft is approved.
How would you like me to proceed from here?
At this point, I think Michelle has a copy, and I don't know who else. Grover, myself.
I have, I think, 2 additional copies that I have here today.
I think let us all read it, and then just email you for tweaking, maybe whatever needs to be tweaked on it.
Okay.
And then in January, we can proceed how we need to.
And if I could, I would like to ask Commissioner Grease if he would take a copy also and review it.
I'll be happy to take a copy.
Commissioner Grease,
This
I'll
is an
autograph.
area that you are interested in.
I'd be happy to autograph Commissioner Grease's copy.
So, well, never mind.
Anything else?
No, sir.
That's all your report.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Does anybody have anything they want to ask of our education director, who does a very good job for this commission?
I have a question. When do you anticipate requiring this to be starting?
The day after the commission meeting. The day after the approval in a commission meeting, this will be sent out to all of our approved providers to disseminate to the instructors. They may be calling now.
I told you to remind everybody. I thought I turned it off.
At this time, I'd like to request that everybody turn their phones on, put them on silent.
I thought we did that with yours.
Not like these 2 commissioners up here who didn't do it. You think we could probably have this done in January, can we not?
I would think
Yes,
so.
sir. Our meeting is early enough in the month that we could get a good start. I have a listserv of all of our approved providers that hasn't been done before, so I made sure that I have a valid email address, current mailing address of not only the providers that are starting January 1, but I also have an instructor list that will be put on our website. So when providers like Janet and Susan, when they're looking for someone who else teaches, they can go and reference. To try to facilitate the consumer-focused government that the state of Tennessee is interested in.
Okay.
Mr. Chairman,
Commissioner Collins.
could we not mail this outline out now and tell them that this is subject to final approval in January, but this is what's coming down the pike so they can get ready for it to these instructors? Since you're emailing it anyway.
How many instructors would you be sending it to?
Over 200.
Over 200?
Email.
Just email them. You got all their email addresses?
Yes, sir.
Would you-
I don't think it needs to be emailed until it's final approved. personally. I mean, I think he can send an email out letting them know it's coming.
Whatever.
what
I
would
just
be-
think they need some preliminary notice that it's coming down the pike.
I think send an email out and let them know it's coming, and then if we get it tweaked early enough, you know, then it'll be ready to go in January, and that's right after the first of the year our meeting is. Michelle, what are your thoughts on it?
It wouldn't be a bad idea to notify them, just where they know that something is happening, and be prepared for it possibly, where they don't come back and say, well,
I know TAR's not doing theirs till after the first of the year either.
Oh, okay.
Because I
That's a
had
good point.
emailed Pug and asked when they were going to be doing the instructor corps training. And it's my understanding from him, have you talked with him, Steve?
Not recently since his
It's my
procedure.
understanding with the email I got from Pug that their instructor training class this year is only going to be an update type like this. They're just going to send an email out with an attachment that says this is what you need to change.
I think it might be a good idea to send it out in advance and ask for their comments. I mean, they're the ones who's going to be charged with, you know, teaching the course. Since we've not finalized it, to me, it just makes sense to have them comment on certain aspects of the outline. So,
Well, and I think that would be fine. I just don't want them to think this is the final draft and start preparing teaching material on it until we look through it to make sure all the changes have been made.
well, I'm kind of going to disagree with you, Isaac, because I think, doesn't this come from the commission, and then if you get 200 people saying, well, I don't know, I think you need to put this in this section, and y'all put that one in, because it's easier to do this way, and that might, coming from us, that's because this comes from this body.
There's one,
we're not the ones teaching it. They've got a lot more insight as to whether or not the outline flows the way it should for class purposes. So
We're the ones requiring it, though.
And we want it taught the way the commission wants it taught.
right.
I want to ask our educational director, who's been sitting over here listening to these comments being made, what is your suggestion as to how you feel, since you're the ones going to be working with these instructors and you've developed this, what do you think needs to be done at this point? Do we need to email them a proposed draft, get their comments? Do we just need to wait in January and approve it and send it, and this is it to them? I mean, what do you think?
I feel certain with the commissioners and their experience and their education level and their experience with teaching courses, reviewing this and coming back in January with any guidance, we can send it out to our providers and tell them this is what TREC is asking from you if you're going to be teaching courses. At the very last page of the instructor manual is an affidavit that they are signing, affirming that they agree with everything that they have been presented and that they plan to comply with the rules and regulations of the Tennessee Real Estate Commission, is as it states in the education section.
Having heard that, anybody else have any comments?
There'll still be other courses available for instructors as well. This is not the sole course that's available. I mean, so there'll be other options as well. I mean, whatever options are out there now, the TAR course or whomever.
This is just one.
But this, I mean, and I think the large part of this was there are a lot of out-of-state individuals who teach, and this would give them an opportunity to do something without having to come into the state in order to comply with the
Ms. Banks.
statutory language.
You're just kind of going...
Oh, sorry. In order to comply with the statutory language, this was, I think Steve thought this would be a great way to have, you know, the out-of-state people not have to come into TAR to take a course. So there would still be other options available. I just want to make sure I understood that what was the commission was
A little bit I've
deciding
looked
to.
at, I think he's done a great job.
Yeah, I think it's great too.
And to reiterate what Director Maxwell was saying, because we do have folks that are national speakers, they find the time difficult to come into Nashville to take a course at TAR and this would give them the opportunity to make sure that when they do come into the state of Tennessee, they're familiar with what we ask our providers and our instructors to teach.
If anybody wants to make a motion, we could run it up the flagpole. I mean, what's your pleasure?
I don't think we need much to have a motion.
Like Alexander says, make a decision and move on.
Let's move on.
You've already heard what our educational director
Unless he's
recommends.
You're the chairman, give him this instruction.
Just proceed. We'll see you next month. Okay.
Thank you.
Now, didn't we approve them yesterday?
No, I don't think so,
We
because
did-
we
we
launched right into the hearing. I don't think we...
But after
We went back after the hearing.
Yeah,
and
we
approved.
did.
We approved them. We approved the
I
minute.
probably have written that, I just didn't want to forget that all of a sudden.
Yeah, we
Here
approved
we
it.
did, didn't we, Steve?
Yeah, we approved it.
Did Collins make the motion, Reeves seconded?
Okay, good, I just didn't want to let that slip by us.
Okay. Ms. Maxwell, now it's your turn.
Now it's my turn to start on the complaint report, which is, let's see, it is on the second from the left, I think. Let's see, it's right there. It's on the very far right side of the shelf that's one up from the bottom.
Audit inspection information.
That one.
On the left or the right?
It's on the right, so, if you're looking, it's on the far right, on this, right, this last full shelf.
Bottom on the left.
We got engineering
right,
meetings
all the way
on
on
here,
the
too.
right.
He had loaded them all on, he'd loaded all his stuff on, and then, fortunately, I didn't delete it off except one of them, and I thought, he might have a meeting, I better not do that, and he did, in fact, have a meeting.
Contractors, it's on.
That's
And
right.
I see engineers.
And so it should be one, it's on the far side from engineers, on that next shelf up, and then on
Okay, and what are we looking for?
the complaint report.
But it's not behind the...
No, it's not behind the cover. Next month, it's going to be
Okay,
behind the
I
cover.
can find it. Well, that's what
Got
I just
103
had.
open complaints.
Is this it?
That's right. See, you found it without, Janet found it for you. Yeah. Did you find it? Did you find it? Oh, okay, I didn't know, I just wanted to make sure everyone found it. The first page of that is the open complaints as of 11/30/2012. We have 103 open complaints. So far this year, we've closed 131 complaints. So we're making great progress in keeping up. We have no complaints that are outstanding over 180 days as of the date of the report. So that's great. None that, so Julie's doing a fabulous job of keeping up with the complaints and making sure that they're heard in a timely fashion. And so the next page, I hope, is,
I only have one page.
It is only one page. What are we looking for next, Steve?
it's the long page, so it's going to be like a long short, like a long squatty page.
If you've got your iPad in the up and down, it's the fourth shelf on the very left side.
I think those are the additional.
Fourth shelf or the last shelf?
If it's up and down, you've got it sideways. They reordered. It's the third shelf near the middle.
It's got a graph at the bottom.
It's a sideways little page.
Real estate license approved by type.
Yeah, that's it.
The open complaint report by source. Sorry, it's so confusing. That long page shows the number of complaints that we've received in the last, since the start of the fiscal year. And we've received 165 complaints, 28 during the November and December month. Last November, December, we received 43 complaints. The complaints kind of go up and down. They seem to come in little flurries, so we'll probably see an increase in December and January. We've had a fair number come in over the last couple of weeks, the first couple of weeks of December. You can see that most of our complaints at this point are filed by consumers. 61 have been filed by consumers, only 8 by fellow practitioners, and 34 by TREC itself, which make up our 103 open complaints. And right now we have no open E&O complaints, which is hopefully not going to change in the next 5 or 6 weeks, I hope. Did everybody find that page?
We've only got one page, and I can't find anything. Where's the,
Well, is one with the graph at the bottom.
That's,
No,
that's real estate license.
Have you found it,
I
Commissioner?
have this way or you have it this way?
No,
Got
we
it that
were
way.
in the
You have this
report
way?
you said.
It's the middle,
You said on the far left.
The little
that's
short
up
one.
and down, sorry.
Okay.
It's this
That's
way.
number of
It's sideways.
licensees.
It says-
It's the third shelf,
That's-
fourth one over.
That says number of license. We don't have what you have.
Wait a minute.
This is what ours looks like.
Turn
Here it
around.
is, here it is, here it is, here it is. I found it.
You found it?
Yeah, go back.
okay.
Right there.
Okay, I'll go on here.
Okay,
Moving
now the top
along.
shelf.
The complaints over 180 days, as I say, we have no complaints over 180 days, although this is 24. The most recent information showed that we had none that were outstanding over 180 days that had not been presented to the commission. Now, there's some that are in litigation, and Robin has a number that are in litigation, but the 180 days, that really is the performance measure, is just that it has to be heard by the commission within 180 days, and we have none that have not been heard by the commission within that time frame. This also shows the total amount of civil penalty money we've collected thus far this year, which is $110,057, and of that $110,000, $3,750 is from citations, just the agreed citations that are issued. And I think the commission wanted to know that amount of the agreed citations. Now, some agreed citations become complaints, and that's included in the complaint amount, but just the people that pay from agreed citations that have gone out. Our civil penalties by fiscal year, this is not a piece of what's on your iPad, so you don't have to look for that. In the year 2011 to 2012, our civil penalties represented a little over 12% of the total revenue that TREC received. And that, in the year before, it was 8%. The year before that, it was 13.5%. So it averages about 11 or 12%, the civil penalties of our total revenue that we get. And that's the total net revenue. So that's the amount that it represents, the total penalties.
Is there a number on here of the ones that are in litigation?
The
Or am I not seeing it?
There's not a number of those that have moved to the litigation department. That's probably on the.
What, half a dozen, 2 dozen?
No, that says just more.
Those on the
That might be the
consent
24.
law.
I'm not sure if it's
Well, I swear I turned this off, guys. I'm sorry, I turned it off. I'm just going to turn the whole thing.
Right, payment plans. Right. Right. Because the information that we get from administration shows that our complaints over 180 days without the clock stopping, which means it hasn't been presented to the commission, is one. And then the complaints over 180 days that have the clock stopped are 114, but that's not right. Yeah. Anyway, it's closer to like 20, I think, that we have in litigation.
But now, Ms. Maxwell, the ones that over 180 days and the clock is stopped, those are the ones that there's some kind of litigation, legal action being taken, going on in the court of law.
There's a consent order that's out, and there's a payment plan on that consent order, so it hasn't been full, or the person hasn't come to the TREC meeting. There's some part of that still outstanding.
Then we still have to keep them on the report and track them until, we still keep them, it doesn't. We still keep them on the report and track them until they attend a meeting. You all require in all your consent orders that the respondent attend a meeting within 6 months. They stay on our report until that person, that for that 6-month time period while I track the attendance. So some of those are ones that have already been entered into orders, already been closed, except for that attendance requirement, but they stay on our report because we track it. So.
But what you're saying, if in that citation, or that consent order, that if you have to attend a TREC meeting within 180 days, that file does not get closed until that happens. Is that right?
That is correct, yes.
And it seems to me to make cut the time and elapse, that should be shortened to 120 days.
You mean their time to attend?
You got 100. You got instead of 6 months to attend this meeting, then you cut it to 120 days, and that narrows that time period that gets these files closed.
That's fine. That's up to you all. They already have had clock stopping action for purposes of, I guess, our performance measure. So if that's a concern, then
Mr.
you don't
Chairman,
have to
I
worry.
move to shorten to 120 days.
Second.
Commissioner Alexander makes a motion that we shorten from 180 days, which we have typically been doing, to 120 days.
We'll have to begin that
Discussion.
next month since
yeah.
we've already voted on the ones for this month.
Well,
Yesterday.
sure.
Yeah,
Just so that's clear on the record.
to be effective, I would say, in January 1st.
Starting in January.
January 1st now. It's second by Commissioner DeShara, and discussion, and Commissioner Northern has the floor.
The reason we did the 180 days initially was because we were somewhat mindful of the fact that others have to travel from the far ends of the state, and we were trying to make it reasonable for them to attend within their region, because we move the meetings periodically, and even with that, there's still some possibility that if we've already been to East Tennessee, that person will still have to come to Nashville. I'm not opposing your motion. I'm just saying that as a reminder of why we set it for 180 days, so it allowed those individuals who are coming from the far ends of the state a little bit more leniency in attending these meetings.
I have a question of Julie. If it was changed from 180 to 120, or if it's left at 180, in the whole scheme of things, does it matter?
Not for purposes of our performance measure. Once somebody has entered, once the consent order has been sent out, it actually stops the clock on that 180-day time limit. Beyond that, the dates are still tracked, but to my understanding, it's not counting against us for performance reasons. It's just, it stays on the report because that way I have a spreadsheet running. Connell has the same, where we just track it. It's just for purposes of being sure that everybody who's ordered to do something does it. So
I misunderstood you.
So it's not messing you up.
My understanding was that if it's, my simple motion was for the 120 days, 160 days, because it shows that excuse me, that particular case is not, or complaint is not closed until that part of the complaint is filled. Is that right? So that case is still open.
it is closed in legal. It is the technical designation it has on our complaint report is staff closed payment plan, because we don't have something showing attendance. We've just got to keep, it's open on the staff side. I don't know the inner workings.
Yeah, but it's actually considered, once it's presented to the commission and the commission has acted upon that complaint, then it is considered closed for the performance standard purposes. Like our performance standard is about 90, this past month was about 91%, and the performance standard that is actually set is 75%. So we're way in excess of the, I mean, we're doing way, way, way better than the performance standard. So as I say, if it's closed if it's been presented to the commission, it's showing is closed for performance standard purposes.
So when we vote on it, it's closed, is that right?
Correct, that is correct. And then it may, it's going to go on
My
and
motion
finish.
is no good.
Well, why don't you withdraw it? And Commissioner DeShara will do her second, and we'll move on.
And we're way, way ahead because we've got good staff.
So as I say, there's nothing, I just was bringing that up so y'all sort of knew where we stood with those. If there are no questions about that, then we can move on to the additional statistics, which are, the statistics and the additional statistics. The statistics are second from the left on the bottom sheet.
Is it one of the short? Is it a short one?
Yes, it's a little short one.
No,
The number of licensees, it's a little short one.
that one. There we go.
Vice Chairman and Chairman, For the attendees here today, those statistics are not in your book. I know that many of you are looking for them. They're not in there.
Okay, so attendees, you don't have what we're talking about. Just listen.
Did everybody find it?
Bear's favorite subject.
The number of licensees as of 11/30 of 2012, there are 23,735 active individual licensees, which is 45 less than we had last month. There are 875 inactive licensees, which is 17 more than last month. 9,362 retired individuals, that's 84 less than last month. And 421 people are in broker release, and that's 9 more than last month. So the grand total of individual brokers, affiliate brokers, and timeshare people is 34,393, which is 103 less than last month. The firms, we have 3,995, which is 28 less than last month. Our retired firms went up by 2 to 280. We have a grand total of firms of 4,275, which is 26 less than last month. So our total of active people and firms is 27,730. Our inactive individuals are 875. The retired firms and individuals, 9,642. Broker release, 421. So the grand total is 38,668, which is 129 less than last month. And is it if you go to the additional statistics, I'm going to go over the applications approved by type, but it's probably easier if you just go to the additional statistics, because I have it broken down like how many principal brokers we have and principal brokers of 2 firms that we have.
Commissioner Grease.
So if we suspended a license yesterday, next month, will it show up in one of these categories?
If we suspend it, we have a category that's suspended. The suspended category, we don't usually put on here, but like as of 11/30 of 2012, we had 49 people in suspension. Some of those people are in suspension for child support or privilege tax or Tennessee Student Assistant Corporation. So they're, some of those we are directed by a third-party agency to put in suspension.
So to speak to that privilege tax just for a minute, so if a broker doesn't pay that, then he or she can automatically have his or her license suspended?
We get an order from Revenue that tells us to
I understood
suspend
about the
them.
child support, and I knew about student loans, but I didn't know about the privilege tax.
And I think you have to have missed 2
If you read that form
payments.
from the Department of Revenue, it tells you they can automatically suspend your license.
I think you have to have missed 2 payments, or is it, those usually come in about this time of the year. We seem to get those are the very
You have paid yours, haven't you, Mr.
I
Grease?
certainly have.
They'll lien your property if you haven't.
And wasn't it
Well,
a
Hey, yeah,
privilege to
they'll
pay
lien
it?
it. That's what we understand that they'll
I
do.
just find it odd that another department can instantly deal with a license when we can't.
And we can't,
Yeah.
that is
And
odd.
it's just for $400. They can shut us down.
Yeah, that's why I'm not sure if it's 2, if you have to miss. I think they don't lien it until you're 3 years into delinquency, but I could be wrong. It's never makes anyone happy. Did everyone find the additional statistics? Okay. The additional statistics has the total licensees and the first page, individuals and firms. I put in there what we had in the change from 1999, from 12/15 of 1999 to 11/30 of 12, just to show that difference of 13 years. And you can see that we have fewer people now than we had in 1999. We had 39,712 total people in 1999 as opposed to 34,393 presently. Did you find it, Bear?
This is what I'm talking about, right here. Yeah, if you go over to page 3,
In 2000, we had 36,968 total licensees. Today, we have 34,393. We're 2,500 fewer licensees in this state than we had in 2000.
But look at,
Compared to 2006.
well, look at 2008.
Oh, I know, we're back to, it's like I've said before, rats don't swim toward a sinking ship.
As I say, you're less than you were in 1999, so, I mean, that's 13 years, and you're less than you were in 1999.
I know it.
In 2008, we had
not bad, though.
50,700 agents, and now we have 34,393. So over 15,000 difference. Yeah, we're going to give you our numbers for next year.
Oh, okay, okay. And then,
I'm taking January 31st.
on page 2,
That's a-
is that what we?
February 30th?
Yeah.
Okay.
28.
What are you talking about? I'm talking about how many licensees we're going to lose because of having a...
Yeah, but not February 30th.
30th.
Okay.
28 days.
I'm sorry. January 31st.
That's when
The
you're
end of
going to get
January.
married, is February 30th.
No, that's true.
Okay.
That's my wedding date.
That's your wedding day.
On page 2 of that, I think Commissioner Grease asked this last month, we have 247 principal brokers who are the principal broker of 2 firms, and we have a total of 3,748 brokers who are principal brokers of just 1 firm. So that sort of shows you, the difference of the number that we have that are PBs of 2 firms. And then that shows the breakdown there. We have 16,343 affiliate brokers and 3,644 brokers. And then the principal brokers add that number up a little bit. Are there any are there any questions about this? It shows the number of exams taken and the number of applications approved as
There's
well.
some pretty good statistics there on how the firms have dropped, single firms.
What page you on?
That's
I'm on
page
page 2, second thing down. Size of firms based on the license as of 10.
Right. Yeah, so you can see that we have a large number of little, of small single individual firms.
A lot less of the great big firms.
Yeah. And they're centered in the larger cities, as you might imagine. I mean, you can see that we had 218 applications approved, this is on page 3, approved in November, and 243 exams that were taken. So the number of exams in October was 273. Those were down a little bit in November, but our applications approved were up in September. In October we had 203, and in November we had 218. So our applications were up a little bit, and the exam taken were down a little bit. We had 16 firms that closed or retired in the month of November, which was less. You can see in 2010 we had 27 firms that closed or retired, so that number has decreased, which is good. Are there any questions about any of the other?
Do you have a question about terminology?
Are there any other questions about the
All
statistics?
right, we're going to take our guess for number of agents. You're going to record those now, Mr. Chair.
Yeah. If anybody wants to wager a guess as to how many licensees we're going to have on January the 31st of next year, how many are we going to lose because of inability to pay both the board dues, approximately 70% of our licensees are members of TAR, plus the $249 E&O insurance if they get the state policy.
Well, they have until February 28th to pay their NAR dues.
You got it February.
So, March meeting is
Okay, our
when we
March
need-
meeting, okay.
So we want active
And
licensees.
you want the total. You want this total.
I'm
Just active licensees.
That's what we did last year, we had active licenses.
Active licensees.
As of 228, is that what you?
Yeah, we'll do it at our March meeting.
The grand total right now is 34,933.
No,
That is-
that's active
Well, active is
licensees is 23,735.
Okay, 23,735.
I think we'll lose 1,500. That's my guess.
Well, you gotta give a number.
You got to give a,
Just take 1,500 from whatever.
well, no, but you got to give a big number. You got to give the actual active number, not the.
You gotta do your
not
own
the
math, in
subtracting
other
kind of
words.
number, yes.
735.
Who's got a calculator?
My number is 22.5.
You wanna take 1,500 off there?
22.5.
We're talking about active
We'll
licenses.
be down to 22.5.
Yours, Bear, yours is 22,235.
Yeah, 22,235. That's what I'm guessing. You keep up with it.
235.
We're talking about,
Right.
just
Active
people.
licensees.
Active licensees.
People, individuals.
What'd you say, 20 what?
22,335.
No, 235.
235. 23,235.
No, 22,230.
22,235 is
Okay.
what
I just want to
he
make sure I
said.
wrote it down right.
And Michelle, what'd you say?
I said 22.5. I'm gonna be easy.
Ready for me?
Yeah.
22,035.
22,035. I hope it's about 10,000, because that way there'll be so many agents gone, there'll be more business for those of us that are still in the business.
Okay, John, what's yours?
I'd put it at about 23,347.
22,000?
23,347.
23.
He don't think
If you're doing
they're going.
February 28th, I think I'm on a good number.
Okay, Isaac?
I'm with John, I'm thinking 23,250.
Is that three more than last year?
No, you're.
You said 23,347, right?
21,925.
21,925.
That leaves Janet.
We have to have some.
No, that's Grover's.
I know, I said that leaves you.
And I'm going to do 23,120.
Okay.
Eve, what's your number?
I don't know, I haven't
You
given.
don't care.
Well, you're a statistical genius.
Well, no, that's, y'all are all hovered around just a small,
Steve, you want a rager?
Price is right.
$1.
I think that was our alternative.
It has to be approved by the legislature to gamble in Tennessee.
Okay.
Wendell won last year.
Oh, yeah.
What'd you win?
A certificate.
That's
Yeah,
right,
bragging rights.
So he won.
What's your number, Steve?
23,115.
Oh, you're right in there with me.
Y'all think there's 500 folks gonna drop off?
Yep.
Okay. Does anybody in the audience know of anybody back in your office or anybody you know that's going to put their license in retirement? Does anybody know anybody out there?
See, if you go back over there on page 4, the average statistics is from 17 to 11.8 losing every month now.
That's how you figured it up last year. I know you sort of did. You did that math last year when you figured it.
Just to be sure, we're talking about people who are dropping out, not people that are subject to the E&O
Well, if it
renewal
drops,
process.
If it drops, if they don't have the E&O, you're gonna get them
I know,
dropped.
but you know, the E&O is backdated to January.
That's all right.
It'll be whatever our active membership is, February 28th.
Okay.
Okay, Ms. Maxwell, what's
Yes.
next?
So the next item of discussion is just a brief discussion to clarify something on the license recognition. There's a Rule 1260,
Is this
Yeah,
something we
one-
need to look at?
no, as a matter of fact, there's not a tab for it. 1260-1-.02, and that rule says an applicant may be excused from the Uniform Principles of Real Estate portion of the exam if he holds a license in another state and has successfully completed an examination approved by TREC. The question that we needed some clarification on is holds a license, does the commission believe that to be an active license?
Yes.
Okay, that's what, we just wanted to clarify that the person in the other state needed to have an active license.
Is that what we talked about, have to pass a state exam as well as the national exam?
Correct. And so we just wanted to make sure that that's what the commission...
Active license in some other state.
Correct, an active one, not a retired and not a past one.
Just because that word wasn't in there, we wanted some clarification from you all, because you all are the ones that interpret your rules. So we
Well,
just need
does
to-
that also mean that they had to have taken the national?
Yes, they would have had to pass the uniform. The uniform principles is the national portion of
I
the
thought
exam.
some state might not have the national, the reason I asked that question.
Every state, I believe every state has a national exam. California still writes their own and administers their own exam. New York does, and Florida does. Texas PSI actually writes and administers theirs. They just have never had reciprocity with anybody. And I think that Mississippi just switched from writing their own to having PSI write and administer theirs as well. So I think that those are the only states that, they give a national exam, they just do it differently. But that, as I said, we just wanted to clarify that, and that was the extent of that tab.
Well, basically, what you're saying is you cannot be in a retired status or any other status.
Correct.
Right.
We just wanted to clarify that that's what the commission intended, so that we could tell people who asked us that question. The next tab is the discussion of the redistribution of the auditor's resources, which is a long name for... and I've given you a lot of information. A lot of it was a handout that I gave out this morning. You know that Bill Stewart retired in June, and so that left us with 3 auditors to cover the state. And in your materials, there's a picture of the state. It shows how it's divided up. I hope, maybe. Might be blowing out.
Travel expenses. Yeah, I saw it.
Hey, Miss Maxwell?
Yes.
The things that were left yesterday,
We just pick up the front of the stuff.
you threw it away.
Whatever's up there, we usually just pick.
Yeah, because I left mine here yesterday. I had mine. My credit card might have been in that stuff.
There's something on the tablet we just need to...
Yeah, that's what I was trying to see, because it had a picture. I had a picture of the state, and it sort of broke it down so that you could see the auditors, like where they're located right now.
Their territory?
Yes, their territories.
I saw that in my email.
That was an email.
Well, I guess that's, yeah. But I guess it didn't. Well, those who looked at the email saw the state. And then I did give you this morning, the breakdown of the territories and the firms that we have now currently. The state is now broken down into 4 areas: West Tennessee, Midwest Tennessee, Mid-East Tennessee, and East Tennessee. And so the middle part of the state encompasses the counties, and that's on the breakdown that I handed out this morning. That has the counties Williamson, Davidson, Cheatham, and Rutherford, Robertson, Sumner. It's got counties that have a large number of firms in there. So that's a very narrow band across the state. That person, Eddie Sneed, does that currently. There are 1,164 firms in that part of the state, and it's only 13 counties that cover that. So that part is a very, very large part of the state from the number of firms perspective. The west part of the state has 885 firms in 31 counties, but 588 of those are located in Shelby County. 533 of those are located in Shelby County.
How many counties is that in Johnny's?
And that should, in Johnny's, he's got 31 counties. I wish, I'm sorry I don't have more of these. I'm sorry they didn't show up on there, because it,
Well, I brought it up on my phone if anybody wants to get their email and go to it.
Ms. Maxwell,
yes.
what I took from what you sent via email is that we need at least one more auditor.
Well,
Is that
but,
where we're headed here?
well, no, well, actually, part of where we're headed is there a better way to distribute the auditors so that you don't have
Personally,
Johnny
I don't
traveling?
think you ought to get involved in telling you how to distribute the auditors. I think that's your job.
Okay, well, I mean, I just didn't know if there was any input from the commissioners, because as it is right now, the travel expenses, Johnny goes from Memphis to Montgomery County, and to Dixon County, which is a long way to travel. And, it might be that we could redistrict the southern part of the state and maybe take some of that away from Middle Tennessee.
Folks in Dixon County.
And, how many, there are 25 firms, is that what you asked?
Yes.
25 firms in Dixon County.
Ms. Maxwell, does the auditor make his own decision who he's going to audit, or do you do that?
He makes his own decision, and one of the things that I handed out to all of you all this morning is a sample of what the auditors turn in. So by Friday afternoon of each week, they are supposed to turn in a schedule of what they will audit the next week. And you can see that they sort of turn it in different formats. I've given you one of each of the auditors, of both how they do their schedule, how they do their weekly logs, and then, how they do their inspections. I've also given you what the force field manager looks like, which is what we are able to track the auditors on a daily basis. It's an application on their phone. And I've kind of given you an example of that so you can see what it looks like. The colored pictures, Mike's, and then Johnny, for some reason, has fallen off of it, and I've put in a surge to have him put back on. They've been working on that for about 3 weeks to try to get him back on the system. And then I gave you Bill and Eddie's because we've had Eddie carry Bill's phone around to sort of see how they track together. If you've got one person taking the phone, if Force Field Manager actually tracks them accurately when they're going places. And you can see that there's sort of a difference.
How often should a firm be audited?
Well, the goal is to have the firms audited every couple of years. And that doesn't seem to happen that doesn't seem to always happen with every firm. And, that is problematic because some people get audited more frequently than others.
How many other licensees in the state of Tennessee get audited?
You mean as far as
Any other lawyers, doctors?
Oh, yeah.
They get audited?
Are there any other
But
groups?
you mean they have like a regular audit?
Yeah, that people just drop in, because I know lawyers don't have
No,
any.
we don't have it. As lawyers, we don't.
And I'm not sure if anybody else beauticians, they have a license.
They have people that audit
Drop
them.
in when they,
And right, and auctioneers, they really just troubleshoot, right? They're just investigators.
I have been in the auction business for 30 years with my own firm. I have never been audited.
I think they did have an investigator, but I don't think they do now.
And Dennis used to be, Dennis Hodges used to be the investigator.
Right, and I don't think they have.
Speaking of Dennis Hodges, here he is. He walks in the door.
I don't think they have an investigator. I mean, I don't think
Yeah,
they have
we
anybody.
got-
And the contractors has one person that I think is more of an investigator individual than an auditor that would just do a compliance audit.
so an investigator would go out after there was a complaint.
Correct. That's
But
my
They
understanding.
wouldn't just drop in and say, I'm doing an audit
Right,
today.
and I also gave you all a history of TREC, because Commissioner Haynes had asked for sort of a little history of the TREC audit section, and I kind of went back through through some of the old journals and made a little history. And originally, the audit section was started just to answer questions and, do compliance, but I think, it was like, oh, this would be a good thing to go out and make sure that the new brokers understand what they're supposed to be doing, and if we can show them how they should run their firm, then that would be beneficial for everyone as well. And
Do they do that?
You know, I don't think that they do. I mean, we have a checklist of items that are supposed to be done and supposed to be looked at. You know, I don't know that really the auditors they've got a 4-year accounting degree. All the auditors do. That's part of the requirement for the state for that auditor position. So since they are slotted in an auditor position under the state classification, they have to have an accounting degree. So I don't know that they really have, you know, I'm not sure that they really would have the expertise to tell someone how to improve the operation of their business. It appears that that might have been one of the early thoughts about the audit section, but as it has evolved, I don't really, as I say, I don't know that they would be qualified to tell someone that.
Johnny and I had a conversation about 2 weeks ago, and he said as an auditor, and when he gets complaints, he said, really what we need is an investigator, because that's not what he's trained to do. He's
Right.
trained to audit, and he said, we really need an investigator. And I know when we went to Arillo, there were conferences for investigators, so maybe rather than another auditor, that's what we need, is an investigator.
Yeah, if I could inject, we aren't going to make this decision today, but discussions are going to begin, and they're beginning today, about the most efficient and the most practical way of doing what we've been doing in this state for so many years. Today we've got these 4 auditors that go out. I've had some discussions with the administration. They have brought it up in conversations about, they want us to talk about this, to think about it, and see what we think the best way to police the real estate industry in this state. With auctioneers, like I was saying, without having an investigator, the public and the court system polices the auctioneers. If there's one out there that's doing things they shouldn't be doing, that there will be complaints filed against them, then the auctioneer commission will become aware of problems that may be out there with some of their licensees, and also the court system. Because if somebody's wrong, more than likely there's going to be a lawsuit. If there's not a resolution to the problem, there's going to be litigation. So that's how the auctioneers have been policed all these years. But the administration wants our thoughts and input as to what we think would be the best way to move forward with something that we've been doing for all these years. Is it the most efficient way and the most practical way to continue doing what we've been doing?
Well, with technology the way it is today, I think that's something we're going to have to look at too, because there's probably some other ways that a firm can be audited without him necessarily physically having to go to a building. If somebody has not had a problem with their audit in the past, maybe email files and let him review files or something. But I think with technology, we're going to have to look at possibly some other ways of doing that. Plus, we're going to have to look at how to audit firms that are paperless.
Like personally, I don't think we need auditors. I think we need investigators, and I think we need goodwill ambassadors, to, for lack of a better term, to visit new firms if requested, to advise them on what needs to be done.
Help set them up.
To set them up and get them in line. But I don't think we need auditors just periodically dropping in on firms.
Yeah, and also, just like another comment or a thought that was made was the instructors that we have in this state, they play a key role in educating our licensees into what they need to do and how they need to do it, and then us making sure that these principal brokers run their offices the way that our rules and statutes dictate, and then our instructors making sure that the courses that they're teaching, that our licensees are very knowledgeable of what to do and how to do it.
Mr. Chairman, I want to interject this, though. A lot of our brokers have changed their hats, say from maybe a residential to all of a sudden a property manager, as we've seen so much of. And that's where it would be so nice to have somebody from the state, can I call you and not have you turn me in for whatever, I mean, and show me how to set up or help me somehow with my property management, because I see now I'm doing more property management and less single family, and I'm not sure there's a course out there, or there may be a course out there, I'm sure there's a course out there, there's tons of them, but rather than have somebody come in and say, okay, you're doing this wrong and I'm going to fine you.
And I started drafting about 4 months ago a property management guide, which I haven't finished, but, that would sort of be a kind of an outline guide for individuals who were trying to set up a
Well, we're just seeing
property
so much of that
management.
now.
Right, and, what files to keep, and, it wasn't like how to operate your business on a day-to-day
Right.
basis, but what files to keep.
And what the laws say.
Right, and a lot of the states have really excellent audit guide that show you how you set up a ledger, really show you how to do, all the things that one needs to do, particularly for property management, because there are a lot of people out there who have no idea even how to set a ledger up, and I think that's hard for a lot of the individuals.
And Johnny is really good. I mean, he was going to be in my area, and he called me and he said, are you going to be in your office tomorrow? I'm going to be in your area. And he said, since you've started property management, if you want me to drop by and just make sure you've got everything set up, he said, I'll be happy to do that. Well, I wasn't going to be in the office the next day, so it didn't work out. But he did call and make that offer, and I thought that was really a good thing to do. And I'm kind of like Isaac, it may be nice to call them goodwill ambassadors or something, instead of making them feel like you got to run hide everything.
But if that had happened to you 3 years ago, you might have, and when you weren't on the commission, you might have thought, oh, I'm being audited, and there's a lot of apprehension.
Well, and that's what I'm saying. Yeah, when an auditor calls you, and
right,
if that just indicates negative. I'm in trouble.
Right.
So call them something else, and get some investigators, because that's what we need to do, is stop some of these practices, like what was going on in Sevierville that we saw last month, what we had going on in Memphis, what we've got going on in Jackson in some locations.
And when we have complaints, we send the investigator out.
Yeah.
And I think when you go to Arello and you listen to the difference between, say, Oklahoma that has investigators and what our auditors do, there's a really tremendous amount of difference and the auditors aren't equipped to do that. I mean, we do send Johnny in Shelby County to a lot of unlicensed places, but he only knows to do so much, and so he's not trained to be an investigator and write a report like an investigator. And I mean, it's a whole different mindset, I think, than what the auditors do.
If I'm not mistaken, Arello does offer.
They do. They offer like reports.
Education.
I would love to take one of those courses.
I would
think
too.
They would be so interesting.
Yeah.
Somebody certifies. Remember they talked about that at Arello, a certification that you get.
And this would really coincide with if we do get something through the legislature, put a little more teeth in our law, this would coincide real well.
Yes.
Now we have to pay for investigators, correct?
Correct.
Yes.
So if we had our own investigators as opposed to auditors, aside from the sharing factor that we've got with the other departments, we wouldn't have to pay for outside investigators.
As far as there's a chargeback cost.
That's what I call
yeah,
sharing factor.
right. Well, the initial chargeback is really cost back is just for being able to use them, and then when you use them, you get charged on an hourly basis for it. So there's just an availability fee, I guess, that we pay. We would probably still have to pay, that would be my guess, I mean, I really don't know. But we would then, those people would work for the real estate commission and do investigations.
Well, are we seeing maybe our auditors morph into investigators? Because, I mean, they have some great experience, they just maybe need more.
I'm not really sure that they would all be able to morph into an investigator.
It seems to me that Commissioner Northern has hit up on a thing that makes about as much sense as we've talked about this morning, and the fact that we need to revamp the criteria for an auditor and move from the word auditor to still being able to do audits, but also to do investigations. and those things, and that a new outline be drawn. My experience since I've been on this commission in using outside investors of the state is worthless. It may be that I think, and I certainly don't want to be involved in deciding where the auditors ought to go. I'm not sure that our executive director shouldn't maybe take a little bit more in deciding where we go. It seems to me that we need to be going into those problem areas and where we've had problems instead of auditing these people that just cause you need to be audited every 2 years. I've been audited every 2 years for the last 30, I guess. But I've never had a complaint or found an infraction. So why should you need, not because I'm a commissioner, but if you've been there, it's easy for an auditor to come to my office if I want a slack day instead of going somewhere else. I could pick the places I want to go and know I'm not going to have any problems and make the day. Not
Right.
saying that's happening.
I think that.
But that's it. We need to revamp the program. We need to change it from an auditor to go in and be whoever you hire. We may have some problems of doing this at the particular time with some of our particular present auditors. But we go through a training program. If they're smart enough to be auditors, they're smart enough to be trained to be investigators. And we simply revamp the criteria to be an auditor and change it from an auditor to some other name, but you still leave the audit part in there. I think it's crucial that you have the auditor part to simply, especially to look at escrow accounts, which is one of the largest things we saw last month. But you need to have some teeth when you go audit it. You sent an auditor back last month within a day after we had this hearing, and we couldn't do a thing about it.
Right.
If we can't do anything about it, no need of going. And I'm one that thought we ought to go. But you ought to be able that auditor ought to be able to have enough leadway to have frozen the assets of that escrow account until you decide whose it was. We don't have any teeth. All we out there flouncing around and can't do it.
In some of the states have you sign when you open a firm, have you and the principal broker and the bank sign that they will allow the commission to go in and look at their escrow accounts at any time, so that the commission can go in and actually see how much is in. At least you know you have some feel for it because you can go in and look at those and access those.
You have trouble with that one.
Yeah, there are a number of states that do that, though, and there are a number of states that have self-reporting, where you fill out a form with renewal every year and say I've reconciled my books every month, and various ways that they say that. So there are states that do different sorts of self-reporting situations.
We talked about that about 2 months ago, self-reporting.
Right.
A lot of insurance companies do that, and it works really, really well.
Right, and I think if you're going to have somebody who's going to be a problem, they're going to surface, and you'll send somebody there, and you'll know that, and be able to send someone there. And by and large, people that report are going to have done what they.
Mr. Chairman, I assume that you have and the powers upstairs have had some conversation about changing this, and it would be my recommendation that we all think about what we think and see that needs to happen. We come back with a report and get it compiled then, and you transfer that to the powers to be and see if we can't change the complexion of the auditors and what their duties and roles are, and maybe change the name.
See, where the discussion has originated, I think, the current administration is wanting to streamline and make government more efficient and more cost-effective. And this is just something that they are looking at, one of many things that the administration is looking at in this department, as to, is it the highest and best use and most efficient way of doing what we're trying to get done. And that was, and just like I was saying, never an audit with the auctioneers, no problem. But this is just something that we need to think about. We need to discuss, and I would like to, I'm going to ask Assistant Commissioner Giannini to be on the agenda next month, and we can discuss it further and get our thoughts. But y'all just be thinking about it over the next month as to what you think, how we need to go. And it's the old saying, if you always do what you've always done, you're going to always get what you always got. And the world is changing with the technology and everything and the onset of the internet and all that is changing in this industry. We need to continue doing these audits the way we've been doing them all these years. That's just
They're not that productive. I mean, for the amount that it costs, if you just look at the travel expenses alone, it's just not that productive. It's not that cost. I mean, it's not the most cost. It can't be the most cost efficient way for it.
No, I want everybody to think about it.
So
I'm just one of 9.
I'll email you these documents, and as I said, I've also given you all like a plan, an audit plan to sort of monitor the auditors, and then, like I've given you, as I say, examples of what the field force manager looks like, so that you can at least be familiar with all that information.
But just to be clear, you're not asking for our input on how you organize and direct the auditors.
I'm asking for input if you all think there are ways that they could be restructured or better used, or that, maybe we change the name. Really, if there's a better way to use the resource that we currently have.
There is a better way.
I mean,
more efficient way, for sure.
Right.
Ms.
The
Maxwell.
question is auditor or inspector, and it's not how they're scheduled to be in West Tennessee or Middle Tennessee. That's not up to me.
It's not scheduled.
Well, I think if you change the name or change what they do, that would probably have a bearing on how they were set up as well.
And if we have goodwill ambassadors or whatever we opt to call them, we wouldn't need one for each section of the state. I mean, you could do a lot less of those. But would you also check into the requirements for certification, what kind of courses they have to have and the cost involved?
Because we're going to have a job description.
Right.
And I'm not totally sure they have a job description now.
Well,
they do have a job
here.
description,
Yeah, there's
and I did include that in the materials, and I'll put it back in there. But it's the job description. Well, first of all, they have a job description that the state has established for an auditor, whether you're an auditor 1, 2, or 3, and so that is what the state's established. And then I have job duties that they have in a job performance plan, and their expectations and what they are supposed to do. So they have both of those things. Now the audit description that the state had set up, but I don't know if it's one that they've reevaluated at this point. It really is more towards an auditor, what you in your mind think of as someone with a 4-year accounting degree who would be doing pure audit work.
And they need that expertise.
They do need that expertise. I don't know if they need a 4-year accounting degree. I'm not sure that they're not really doing the work. I mean, they're not doing that high-level accounting sort of work that you would associate normally with that.
I think you can take that criteria of what they've got and with some additional training, be a lot more efficient.
I think so. I mean, I think they could definitely be more
And
efficient.
if you've got an individual that's got that kind of degree, I think you can train them.
Yeah.
One question, Mr. Chair, is our input also to include what we feel for legal? Because I know they're a different department, but personally, I would expect that in her job, Julie could use an inspector to help her get to the bottom of some of the files that she's dealing with.
It's all intertwined. They just wanting, administration is just wanting all these boards and commissions.
So we're looking at the whole picture, not just track.
Yeah, look at the whole picture.
Okay.
How this, how the real estate commission can better interact and be more efficient and do things better. And they're looking at things that have been going on with all the boards and commissions and just trying to streamline state government.
Make it more efficient, too.
What else?
So just to conclude that, I'll send you all of this information there. I just don't know if I can fax all of it to you. I'll try to fax it all to you. And then
Address.
you all will have it. Or maybe you could look at it on the email so that you could see it.
Janet will get it to me.
Okay.
Email it to her.
I will email it. I may email it to you every time as well. But anyway,
I'll
I think some of the long sheets don't fax as well. The last,
There's a lot of it in this.
yeah, and if you just leave that, I'll pick that back up and scan all of that in.
Well, I mean, should we just take it with us?
That's fine. Sometimes it doesn't make it back.
Okay, I got you.
No offense, but sometimes.
Yeah, I know what you mean.
Sometimes it doesn't always get back. So it'd be better to just leave it. The last thing is Arello, and I had sent the dates of the Arello, the dates and locations of the Arello meetings. The mid-year meeting is April the 10th through the 13th in Scottsdale. The district meeting is June 24th through the 26th in Biloxi. And the annual
Give me that
meeting,
date again.
June 24th through the 26th.
I like that date.
I don't know. They don't have any information up except for that, yeah. They don't have like a agenda or anything for that.
We'll be down for it anyway.
And then the annual meeting is in Seattle,
Pay
and
yourself.
it's September 18th through the 22nd.
I'll do a little reconnaissance next week, but we get 2 weeks.
That might be good for you.
Report back
What's
to
the
her.
dates for Scottsdale again? It's April
The
what?
date, 10th through the 13th.
I'll let the staff have my slot.
Now, that is a Wednesday through Saturday.
Yep. See, I got news after paper.
I got one of those too, sitting right
As I say, Biloxi doesn't even have at least they didn't the other day, they didn't even have accommodations up yet.
Oh, I say,
That's kind of the last, you know. So is there, I mean, do any of the commissioners have an interest in going to any of these, or?
I'd like to go to Biloxi. Wimble wants to go to Biloxi.
No, I'll refer, put some of the other staff go. I'm going anyway.
I actually have an interest in going to any of the Arillo conferences that are available because I'd like to get involved in some of the committee work on Arillo. So just, you can fill me in the slots when there's not someone else who wants to go.
I can just put you down for any and all, right?
Scottsdale.
I'll just go when nobody else can, whatever.
I'd be interested in Scottsdale, but would be at the last. If somebody else is going, I'll let them go first.
And who said Biloxi? Well, who wants to go that hasn't gone? Does anyone want to go to any of them that have? And what,
I hate to admit, though. Probably Seattle.
so you think the one in September?
That's just, I can put that off as a long way off, and I have to admit to it.
I just was trying to,
That's the most comprehensive.
Is it?
when we do the travel justification, we have to put it, you have to put a name in. And once you put the person's name in, you're pretty locked in.
Well, Seattle.
Okay, so that, Bear, what do you,
If I had to choose one of those, I'd Scottsdale.
If it's got a national park.
It's just right down the road from the national park.
He's looking at this map over here. See where the national parks are.
did you say you went to Scottsdale? Oh, when is Scottsdale? April the 10th through the 13th.
That's a Wednesday through Saturday.
And when's commission meeting in April?
Commission meeting is the week before. It's the 3rd and the 4th.
And then remember the TAR, it's the
You're
22nd.
a tar in April?
No, it's in March,
Last part of March.
yeah, I have it in here.
What's the date?
So it would be like 3 weeks in a row you'd need to travel.
Yeah, I just was,
Yeah, because we decided with the TAR
It's-
panel, we're just,
25,
those who can come,
25 and through 26.
we'll be there and we'll have our commission meeting earlier that month.
Right, because that's on 3/26, that's a Tuesday, 3/26, that the Q&A is, and the Monday would be the 25th. I just was,
And that's going to be...
that's in Franklin. Right.
When is track on the agenda?
The Tuesday, the 26th of March.
Okay.
Or at least that's when, that was, I don't know if that's permanent or tentative, but that's what they told us when we made our schedule.
So they do have some list.
So that's what, when we made up our agenda for our meeting.
And we were actually on it last year and didn't show up because we didn't know we were on it.
Nobody told us.
Yeah, I know.
Well, that looks bad.
What'd you say?
We had that discussion
26,
with legal
is
from
that
over here.
for the TAR? It's 3/26.
They thought
Does
we were just...
Does anybody have anything else? You have anything
We're
else?
talking about dates and calendars into the next year. Where are we on the 40-year celebrations?
I have delegated that to the East Tennessee chairperson of that event, Mr. John Grease.
We're about 9 months away from it, Mr. North. Maybe 10 months at this point. But we're doing some preliminary work. Expect it to happen on the first first morning of our October meeting, which will be at the town of Farragut, just west of Knoxville.
Okay.
Across the field, not across the river.
It'd be like us going to Franklin in relation to Nashville. Farragut's just on the western side of greater metropolitan Knoxville.
Any particular issues you'd want me to?
No.
Focus on?
Well, they're actually, first of all, since I'm rolling off at the end of June, I won't be around to assist in the West Tennessee part, but I'm sure Commissioner Alexander got that under control. And the other thing is that the Memphis chapter is doing a similar emeritus status function this month, and I was thinking that if need be, I'll try and get some of the data to pass on to staff so that they won't have to do as much research, because it's a 40-year celebration for the emeritus status anyway. We got that. I'm sorry, 18th or the 19th. What day is it, March? 18th.
You have anything else, or anybody have any questions of Ms. Maxwell?
Did you get everything you needed on the Real?
Well, I didn't really get much of a firm commitment from anyone about their desire to go or not to go, except that you and Michelle would be up for any or all. And
Scott thinks so, when I'd be available.
okay. And then John preferred Seattle. Okay, so I'll just sort of, I'll ask for it again.
Anybody have anything else of Ms. Maxwell and her report? This concludes everything that you had in your report, Ms. Maxwell?
Yes, it does, as I say. If you'll leave the stuff on the auditors, I'll just scan all that in and email it again so that you have it for next month. Huh?
Anything else? Commissioner reports. You have anything, Commissioner Alexander?
Well, I hope everyone has a nice Christmas. Don't forget to send me a Christmas present. I've enjoyed the year. I guess that's it.
Commissioner Grease.
I have no report, Mr. Chairman.
Commissioner DeShara.
Well, I too would like to wish everybody a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year. And please don't forget to buy your E&O insurance before the end of the year so that you don't get that nice, lovely civil penalty assessed to you and to your broker next year.
Commissioner Northern.
Ditto.
Commissioner
Ditto.
Collins. Commissioner Mr. Haynes.
I think Janet and I got our speech exactly the same. Ditto. Buy that E&O and have a Happy New Year.
I think we've had a good meeting, and I hope all of you licensees, regardless of why you're here, because we get a list of everybody that's sitting out there,
All is nice.
and why you're here. But go back to your office and share some of the stuff that you've learned the last day and a half with some of your fellow licensees with your offices back home. And we just hope that you coming to a commission meeting and seeing what we do and how we're out here trying to, number one, our job, and the reason we exist, the reason we were put into existence in 1951 was to protect the public of Tennessee. That's our job. And included in that is to look after and take care and manage all of the licensees that we have. But we hope all of you have a good holiday season, a Merry Christmas, and a safe New Year. And we hope that next year will be a much better year than what this one has been, and you sell more houses and list more. And y'all have a good rest of the year. And with that, this meeting is adjourned. If I want to say, Steve McDonald, you're in charge of telling them what to do and how to do it. You got certificates?
I'll have to mail them.
Okay, your certificates will be mailed to you. We know who you are. We know where you live.
Right back there.
Make sure you sign out.
You sign out.